series, hoping for some longer games. Let's dive on into it as we're going to start off in the top left-hand side with the Blue Zerg player representing Psystorm Gaming. This is Namshar.
Bottom right-hand side, also representing Psystorm Gaming, it is Epic. Epic, by the way, one of a few NA players whose off-race is really, really good as well. Like, he is near 6k, or at least I've seen him as far as 5.8k with his Zerg, which, I mean, bodes well for this matchup. Surely he understands the matchup from both perspectives, and that could help him here.
Man, I really feel like Reynor and Clem ruined off races for me, because they just kind of show up with their off races and they look as good as all the other pros. I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, yeah. Is this the expectation now? I don't even know what to say after this. Like, it's
yeah. I mean, Lambo also has a very strong off races, and Scarlet, always known for her strong off races.
That's true.
So that's, a lot of the classic top pros
as well, because everyone's like, remember when Scarlet played Protoss on Frost against DRG?
Yeah.
Then someone's like, no, and you have to.
I casted that one actually. I casted that one with A9 at MLG. That was a fun time.
Yeah, I know. I watch it frequently when I have to explain to everybody what happened in that series.
Yeah, it was rather crazy. But yeah, I mean, there is a strong correlation too, right, between players who have off races. I mean, if we look at the players that have the strongest off races, they also are some of the strongest players. So I mean, which one came first, right? Were they the strongest players and then started off racing and they were just natural, or are they that strong because they understand the game from multiple perspectives?
What came first, the off race or the egg?
Indeed.
This opening for this game just going to be pretty typical TVZ. Last third hatchery from Namshar is maybe somewhat of note, but otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's nothing out of the ordinary, right? And obviously a large map as well. Not really expecting to see anything too crazy as Epic shows up with his Reaper and starts to put some damage out there.
I mean, that was beautifully executed from Epic, and his Reaper, right, gets as close as possible to that drone so that it has to move before it drops a Spore Crawler to save itself, and it can't find the time to do that as there's an acceleration delay, and Epic gets rewarded with a drone kill right away.
Yeah, very nicely handled. It's exactly what you're kind of looking for. Already a better early game than what a lot of people expect to find in the first few moments of TVZ, so great start. And the follow-up here is just going to be that third command center already building, and also moving into the starport as well. So it's not going to be anything of the 2-on-1 variety. We've seen a lot of like 2 racks follow-ups to 3 CCs lately, so this one's just going to be starport. We'll see where we go from there. Kind of interested as well to see how Namshar's playing TVZ right now, simply for the fact that Namshar always had kind of his own style, which almost became the standard after so many years. Like, he loved playing in ZVP a lot of lurker stuff, even when lurkers really weren't popular. And now, of course, lurkers are a pretty hot thing in ZVT as well. So maybe I can imagine Namshar's the kind of guy to play some roaches into lurkers, maybe. So excited to see what he does show up with.
He's definitely been always been a roachy man, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that. However, there is something to be said about that kind of thing too. When you are a player that likes to play a little bit different than everyone else, when everyone else gravitates towards what you were doing, a lot of the time you just kind of let go of it, right? Because the surprise element or of knowing play style better than anyone else will kind of be gone with that. And then your strengths as an explorer of the style are kind of gone, because you have to compete basically with the hive mind of everyone else figuring it out as well.
Namshar is always one of the more interesting players to me as well, because he was really set in his ways on playing like that certain style. And then at one point, I think people were like, man, you really need to change it up, because while your style is good, like in tournaments, you're just too predictable. And then he changed it up, and even though he was never like the best muta player, his results improved because he was mixing it up. And I've always thought it was like a really cool living example of the idea of, like, you know, the power in strategy and the power in just having different ways to play the game.
Most definitely, and we've seen a resurgence of that in Europe. Throughout the top of Europe, all of the top players, I think, are able to mix it up more and more. Even Hero Marine, even Serral, I mean, they've slowly caught on to this, known as macro players. They made their fame as macro players, but now everyone's mixing it up, and you love to see it. The Koreans figured that out really early on.
Yeah, they did. As you just see, the Italians going to get a couple of group tumors. Again, trying to slow down any progress of Namshar out onto the map. We're going to see a whole ton of extra racks come through from Epic as he gets this follow-up going. He's been opening with these Cloaked Banshees pretty passively. He did send the first one across, send them across together. Namshar did just catch a glimpse of those Banshees. Obviously, the question is, did he pay attention to that glimpse as he does just lose the drone on the 4th base? And those Queens are still staying put at the front. The defense in the 3rd base, which is where these Banshees are going to go, is just the Spork Roll and 1 Queen. So maybe a good chance to get a few drones. And this is what Banshees are, of course, so good at. You dive in, get a couple workers, you just get out of there, and you just continue on with that for a little while.
Yeah, at least it's a very well-positioned Spork Roller, but still, Epic is able to find a little bit of damage. Even some damage onto that Queen. 2 more volleys from both Banshees, and he will take that one down. This map, not my favorite map for Hellion aggression, and it has been mostly unsuccessful for Epic. At the same time, he has managed to keep all of those Hellions alive, so I would love to see an armory added for whenever he plans on his real big push.
Yep, no, absolutely. 100% with you there, as we do have our army kind of just, again, sticking around the front. Oh, loses a Banshee. I love how much map control he's creating with this, right? He really is kind of sticking out here. Hellions getting rid of creep. Just trying to keep Namshar back, and especially if you keep Namshar busy in the center here, and those rocks stay alive, boy, that push is going to be really, really powerful.
Yeah, Namshar has been very good and very diligent at re-spreading that creep and getting pretty good creep control up in the front, but he wasn't able to really break those rocks or create himself very annoying positions. So there is a tank follow-up here potentially from Epic that could take advantage of all of these rock positions that have been mostly just protected from being taken down from this Hellion, with this Hellions.
Hellions come forward and going to get rid of quite a few creep tumors at the moment. We see a few Marines and a tank are joining in from the side as well, but not going to get the chance to siege initially. And then Epic sees that Namshar's about to make a move, so does get siege that tank up. And look at Namshar's money cast. He's got a lot of money that he just hadn't spent, and now he starts up 2-2 upgrades. I believe he just started an extra hatchery, so while he doesn't, while he does suddenly spend all that money, it's all in stuff that's actually not really going to affect the outcome of this upcoming fight.
Yes, indeed. Oh, this is a big bailing run by the SCVs, kind of trapping themselves. It ends up being not as bad as it could have. 9 SCVs still nice for Namshar, but at the same time, Epic is going to pounce onto 2 of these Queens. Will take none of them down, actually, somewhat surprisingly. Does get an Overseer, and he did have a lot of medevac energy, so those Hellbats are now going to heal up, where in Hellion form, they were a little bit bruised up.
And those poor SCVs were running left and right on that run by, and then these Queens were running left and right, and the Queens survived, SCVs didn't. A little bit of a Ling counter attack now, so Marines already kind of finding them, but then that means that those Lings are open to, those Marines are open to attack to the Zerglings. Now we have Epic still trying to hold this forward position, but I'm kind of feeling that he's kind of been here a little bit too long at this stage, and now we see the flank coming in from Namshar from the bottom side too. The Marines do pull back, and the bigger clump of Veins kind of went the wrong way.
Yeah.
Epic does get not quite cleaned up, but he does get softened at the front.
Yeah, I was trying to think of words of how to summarize that Baneling pathing, but then you just did it in like 3 words. I was like, yes, that's what I meant to. That's what I was getting ready to say. So yeah, absolutely. And this tank has been so annoying, protected by these rocks as well, and from that choke. And we see the efforts of Epic to kind of mitigate the creep spread in this area paying off for the time being. So well done by him, though he is starting to trail a little bit in supply and is looking for hunting a few of these units, but there's too many, much more than he was expecting to face. Will have to load and try to get out of there. Will unload onto the high ground. There is a tank that's on siege, and will get to siege behind those bushes, so that'll help him out. There is more Marines reinforcing, but not all of the army of Epic fighting at once, sadly. And Namshar will get a nice cleanup.
The problem with the high ground is you just can't run down to the low ground, which is where you actually needed those units to be to back up the other units, right? So
yeah,
Epic kind of had half of everything in that fight all the time, and Namshar's done a really good job of pushing him back and clearing up that position that Epic was making a really good job of holding. Now Namshar is going to have 2-2. He's about to hit a Spire and an Infestation Pit. We'll see what he wants to do from here as we continue to advance through this game on Romanticide. Epic going to start dropping a bit and pushing the middle, but once again, Namshar seems to be very much so on top of this. Force around.
Yeah, very difficult to load those Marines back up as they were not clumped up when they were dropped. So very well done by Namshar to pounce on that opportunity. And this will net him a very strong advantage here as he gets full map control and his transitions getting ready as well. I love that Epic is going for those Widow Mine upgrades, as that's going to help immensely against both Lings and Banelings and potential Mutas, which are all on the way.
Marine's going to swing around the top side on the left. Marine's going to start pushing forward as well. Ling, Bane, Queen setting up. Hatchery on the top, going to get picked away as well. So that Hatch is going to go down. No cancel there, just a kill. And see the rest of these medevacs moving back down the bottom, still at the top. And it's just going to be fighting, and Epic is finding some pretty good value with these draws. Tries to target fire a Banelin or two, and then does lift up and get on out.
Yeah, but he has to be really careful now because he can no longer continue to escape reliably because there's Mutas out now, and that's going to put the medevacs on a timer. Epic not realizing it just yet, and that's going to cost him a few Marines. Now the medevac boost is available, so he'll go on to another area where the ground army is going to struggle to get to for a little bit longer. That'll net him a couple of Mutalisk kills, but this army will surely get wiped.
To be fair, pretty good Epic, because I thought this is just going to be nothing else to be gained, but he's made a really good job of drawing this out, and like you said, getting extra Mutalisk kills. He's going to get another 1-2 right here, Cats. My goodness, I mean, that was almost just worthwhile trading anyways from start to finish. That should have never been the case this run by. Heading in. No, the SDVs!
He can load them into the medevacs. He will load a few of them. Oh, this Bailey connection barely not making it, and we'll have Epic stabilizing around here, but beautiful moves here from Namshar will net him advantages all over the place as he takes down the base at the top here.
Yeah, if he can actually get this killed, which I think he will at this stage, obviously, that's really nice. Slow down Epic's, continuation on the map. Namshar now making his moves to tech up as well with that Ultralisk Cavern on the production tab. So Ultralisk Cavern is coming on in. We've seen that +3 carapace coming up as well now. So Namshar really again prioritizing anything that's going to help these Ultras stay alive as long as possible. And just looking to really go from there.
Yeah. Epic had a really cool move as well during that defense. He tried to push the Marine outside of the bunker so that he could lift up the bunker. It didn't work out, but the thought was there at his natural base, and that was pretty cool. If he pulled that off, that would have been amazing. But now the game continues. Epic's gonna get 2 queens for free and a good position onto this mostly undefended base. There is no creep. There is a Thor as well, which will make it hard for the Mutas to engage, and a couple of Widow Mines to retreat to. So this could get juicy shots, but instead it's not gonna fire at all. And Epic is still holding strong as long as there aren't any additional Banelings, and somehow, some way, the supply is all of a sudden even.
Man, those Widow Mines were like absolutely delayed on firing, but in the end it almost felt like it worked out. And now Namshar, he actually ran so many Zerglings in on this left-hand side that just died to this drop as well, and that's why his supply was really plummeting almost twice as fast, because he was taking 2 fights where he just didn't have Banelings and it was Lings running into Marines.
Yeah, unfortunately, these Marauders cannot shoot up. I'm not sure that they can do much. I mean, Epic tries to run the medevacs the other way to buy them time to escape, but it will not be so. These Marines will have different luck. As he knows where the Mutas are, he's able to load those up and continues on to look for a siege, this time around with much more Widow Mines.
Yep, continue to move this around. One thing for Epic is he never started 3-3 caps, so I am a bit worried for that. If upgrades finish up for Namshar and also is able to get Ultras on the map, that would be problematic for Epic. I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. As for now, he's still doing a really good job of denying that topside base.
Yeah, and forcing units constantly out of Namshar is what has us not getting those Ultras, but the Widow Mines actually act. Oh, what is this? Those Widow Mines. Traitors and heroes. I'm not sure if they were better or worse.
Did they add neutral Widow Mines to, like, the maps? They just kind of blew up everything. Her is just going to be seeing our bio, the last bit of it running away. Now Epic supply is plummeting. Bounces back with a reinforcement round. Man, we shouldn't let the map makers see this. They might have a new topic for the next map contest. Neutral Widow Mines. Yeah. If we had neutral turrets, it wouldn't be that crazy, Cats.
Yeah, not quite as crazy as neutral turrets. This is also crazy, the fact that there's no turrets here. And a lot of Widow Mines, however, to speak of. I'm surprised that Namshar, with that breathing room, after clearing that attack, he heads onto more Mutalisks instead of Ultralisks. Epic is doing the proper thing and adding some Marauders and additional Widow Mines, so it's not like it would be game over if Ultras are out. But it would definitely be good, I think, for Namshar.
Yeah, maybe Namshar. Maybe Namshar's seen so many Marauders, he just thinks like more meters will do the job for now. But I do think, especially because of the upgrades, there's no +3 attack upgrade, right? So without a +3 attack, your Marines are doing so little damage to those Ultras. I really think now would be the time to have Ultras more than any other time. Like, how often do you get an upgrade lead as a Zerg? Very rarely. And he's going to come flying through at the same time. They are going to start harassing here. Just keeping Epic's attention down on this bottom side instead of fully across the map, and maybe that gives you a chance to jump. But Epic watching once again, it's a Widow Mine slaughter.
Yeah, that is a lot of Mutalisks on the side of Namshar. I can't help but to think that he could have done a little bit more with his Mutas here while that was going on, but now he's gonna look for that damage, and Epic scrambling to try and get Widow Mines burrowed. He has too many Widow Mines. I would love to see a Thor to work as an anchor and kind of push this Mutas away. But as it stands, I mean, the game's kind of stabilizing. Sure, Namshar leads by a good amount of supply, but Epic is no slouch, and he is really keeping up in terms of bases, in terms of economy. He's not lagging far behind on those grounds. So if he can get to his own maxed army, we still very much have a game in our hands.
Yeah, moving through the bottom side, Widow Mines kind of leading the charge there initially as we push on down to this bottom left-hand corner. Epic wants to deny this base and just try and keep Namshar on kind of a 5-base setup. As he gets to 5 bases himself, I mean, that would be ideal, right? That's kind of where you want to be as a Terran, equal bases. Still worried about the lack of upgrades from him. Nick on the middle is flying on through, looking for the cleanup, and he's just got so many meters. This bottom side is going to be completely crushed. The top side doesn't look like there's much over there either for Epic, so feels like it's Namshar all over the map right now. Finally, some Epic units show up.
Yeah, Namshar has been so good throughout this entire game at dragging those Widow Mine fire onto the army of Epic. And he has always been splitting little bits of links here and there, then showing up with the brunt of his army to clean up. And it has worked out so far. Finally, a Thor being added for Epic. I've been staring down at that production, hoping for that. I think there was one Thor earlier, but that was that. And with a Thor, I think he can move a little bit more confidently out on the map.
Yeah, let's hope so, as Epic makes his way through towards the middle of the map right here. I have that hatchery attempt where the Widow Mine going to block it. And that's just annoying, because the last thing you want to do as Namshar is go back and have to deal with that and shut it down. He is going to jump on Epic's 5th base, and let's see if he can get rid of this. Missile turret dies instantly. He's got a full surround of the Lings, and now the Banes are going to show up as well. Planetary should go down no matter what. Banes is going to try and crash through for some bio units, and he's even going to get cancel or kill on the building CC.
Yeah, I mean, a few of those SCVs survived, but unfortunately for Epic, all of those Widow Mines, they were basically donated because those Banelings were doing triple damage, really, to the CC, the PF, and the Widow Mines all at once. So that was insanely good value for Namshar.
Yeah, very nicely done, as you see a few Marines making their way through the top side. More bio out down in the bottom left side, getting rid of a creep Chima Ling. Bane going to run in at this. A Widow Mine this time does not connect wonderfully at all. Let's trail it away. The Medivacs are going to get out of there. The Mutas were just a little shy of cutting them off. Now they're going to try and catch them, though, and Marines were not unloading in time. He's going to get both the Medivacs and the units inside. And he's even going to set up these 2 Widow Mines and maybe goes for the kill on those as well. So Namshar continues through. Epic does feel like he's running out of steam on all the fronts that he's been trying to push throughout this game. And now Namshar looks as though he might even have full control on his 3rd base. Deny this. And then you've obviously got access to the minute Sarah, the Widow Mines, though. My goodness, one more. And it could have been a complete disaster. Instead, Namshar catches a bit of a lucky break.
Yeah, and I think that's gonna be it for this game, as Epic is being sieged and pushed back at the same time. He's gonna have to tap out. And Namshar with a very strong Mutaling Bane. Not something that I expected from him, but I mean, dealing with mines as a Zerg, you have to be very proactive and always keeping in mind that there's mines and sending links in front. And he did that throughout the game very, very well. So big props to him. We'll take the lead.
It was a fun game, wasn't it? I really felt like Epic had such a good start. It's one of those scenarios where the Zerg, or where the Terran, is like 20, 25 supply up as their first push is coming, and you're like, oh, like he's just completely outplayed him early game, and like you kind of just die from here, because even if the push doesn't kill you, generally it trades well enough that you're constantly playing from behind as the Zerg, and eventually you break. But Namshar had a really good cleanup, and Epic really kind of like floundered in those few moments where I feel like the SCVs, you know, when they ran left and right and didn't know where to go, they could have been safe. He could have just ran them to the left. They would have been out of there. I feel like he even got a lucky break where the Banes turned around and then didn't matter anyway. He had a couple good fights, then he had to evacuate, and instead of dropping down to reinforcements, he dropped to the high ground. And it's those little things that just went so much worse for Epic than they maybe could have been. That maybe just lost some all that momentum, and then it turned into a pretty cool back and forth game, of course. But that's maybe where Epic just lost what was already kind of like a winning play for himself. So a little bit of a shame, but good stuff from Namshar. I'm happy to see him take the first map here because I also don't want to see Namshar just bomb out of this group, you know? So I kind of want Namshar to fight back a bit as well.
That would be good to see. And yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that the moment for me was exactly that, when he unloaded onto the high ground. And as it was happening, like I could very well see where Epic was coming from. I was like, yeah, I mean, that's, I think, what I would do. But then when you see the reinforcements arrive, you're like, now those guys are alone. Right?
Yeah.
Like, so he should have kept in mind that he had reinforcements coming and how close they were. And he should have definitely unloaded in a line to protect his one tank and his reinforcements. And I think he would have been able to push Namshar back instead of getting cleaned up from that position, and that would have been essential to his victory.
Even if you just stop the reinforcements, because what really lost you that is obviously the reinforcements then are just on their own, like you say. But then he also dropped half of the stuff on the high ground, half on the low ground. So there's the reinforcements and some extra. It was just a messy moment or two. But that's what can happen in these games of StarCraft. It can become a bit messy, can become a bit crazy. You gotta try and keep control of it all. In the bottom left and able to keep control of map 1 is our red Terran player, Epic.
And in the top right-hand side, both of them playing for Sidestorm, of course, and it is playing from Canada, but originally from Sweden. It is Namshar.
All right. 2000 Atmospheres really plays very similarly to Romanticide. It's
a little bit better for Hellions, perhaps. Right? It's so difficult to go up the ramps with the Hellions on Romanticide.
It's just impossible to rotate on Romanticide, right? So that there is that. It definitely is a bit harder to hold the 4 bases, but it's still a larger map. It's definitely better for like for Zerg, because it's easier for the Zerg to flank, I think, initially. But it's also better for Terran because you can move between bases. So it's maybe better for Zerg initially and then better for Terran later than Romanticide.
Yeah, there's also other troubles for Zerg on this map. Like there's a lot of pathways to spread creep. There's like, you know, if you look outside of the 3 initial bases, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different pathways that you want to spread creep out of. So that creates a problem in itself. But yeah, otherwise it's a very wide open map. It's a pretty standard map, and that usually tends to do good for Zerg. So we'll see what Epic brings here. I do like this map better for Terran than I do Romanticide.
Yeah, I can. I think I do too. It kind of depends what sort of player you are. Because if you really like just like bunkering down, maybe Romanticide is a bit better. But if you're like more a mid-game Terran, the only push you can make mid-game as a Terran is like those double rockets on Romanticide. Whereas on this map, it can be a bit more flowy. You can counterattack, multitask, and multi-prong a bit more.
Very true. Yeah, if you're Soul, I really like Romanticide for you.
Yeah, basically what we're all thinking.
Right, this Reaper trying to find some value. Will get 1 link for his efforts, it looks like. Maybe a second one, but the Queen is out. He has to be careful. Queen runs the opposite way of what she wants to do. The Reaper will be allowed to escape, indeed.
Yeah, got a little scary there for a moment, but Reaper stays alive. You want to keep this Reaper alive. The moment you lose the Reaper is the moment the Rotaron goes down and you get all in. And it's just, you don't have any way to kind of inform yourself of that. So, gotta keep that Reaper alive, keep info, keep, you know, figuring out what's going on, and just keeping track of what the Zerg's up to.
That is correct. There is a couple of Hellions out on the way here for Epic. So we are seeing about as standard as you can from either side at the moment. Both players just doing the proper things. And do you think we're going to see some deviation from Namshar, or is he going to stick to the same unit comp?
I think for the map, I think the same unit comp works pretty well. If we saw a smaller map, maybe we saw something like Roach-based, or, you know, I guess the big question, maybe he plays Lingbane and he might play like into Hydras instead. I don't know. That's the only thing I would imagine. But honestly, the way that game 1 went, I think he's probably pretty happy with the Ling Bei meter as well, right? And I think that's always something to keep in consideration. Like, you know, that first game went well for you. Ling Bei meter seemed to work. It was something that you had good fights with, and you were able to take advantages with even when you were having some tricky situations. So maybe you just stick with it for that cause as well. I really don't know. Like, I just, it's crazy, but Namshar is someone who I used to cast, I feel like, every single week, and now it feels like this is probably my first time seeing him this year.
Yeah, it's actually been a while since he's been playing competitively, it seems. At least a couple of months, according to Aligulak. But it's good to see him in good shape, because that game looked really dominant from him. So he's been playing behind the scenes quite clearly. And yeah, we have an Armory finishing up for Epic, who has barely taken any damage on his 2 initial Hellions. Did get 1 Creep Tumor and a couple of Circlings, as he prepares to also go for a Cloaked Banshee follow-up similar to last game.
What's going to be seen as Overlord's going through and just confirming pretty much everything that's going on here. So Namshar really just needs to make sure he's got the units set up to defend some Hellbats, because he only really has Queens and Lings at the moment, so it might get a little bit scary. It's possible to defend with this. It all comes down to Queen control micro, but you got to be kind of prepared for it. You got to be thinking like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this when it arrives. So we'll see. There's Epic waiting a few moments. He's got the 3rd CC building behind this. It'll be a later 3rd than the last game. He gets his engineering base going behind this as well. Let's see what the Hellbats can do. If he chooses to morph them in right now, he's just hunting a Queen without morphing them.
Yeah, very interesting choice there. I would have thought that he would have morphed them on top, but now instead he's gonna lose a few Hellions before really getting his attack working. The Baneling Nest is almost ready now. I can see why he was focusing those Queens as the Banshees arrive now to try and clean up. Unfortunately for them, they are gonna meet a Spore, and the Baneling Nest has now finished. So we could have Namshar morphing additional Banelings. Instead, he's just gonna use the Circlings as the Hellbats are already a little bit weak.
Yeah, and the Glare just finished as well, so these Banshees also can become a little less effective soon, just for the fact we're going to be able to get Overseers up and running, so a little bit of an extra something there as well.
Yeah, I really would have loved for Epic to just morph those Hellbats and run them in, but at the same time, you don't know if you're meeting Banelings already, so it's a rough one, but I think it would have worked out really well for him.
I think resources lost overall is kind of even, which is all right. It's just the fact that obviously you're... that's sad. It's just the fact that you obviously, you lose your Hellions. Now you lose your map control. What's going to contain this creep threat? It's going to go absolutely wild for the foreseeable future. There's just going to be creep everywhere on this map, cats.
Yes, indeed. That is a very good point. And yeah, at least Epic is keeping up in the upgrade department. Or I should say Namshar is really keeping up, right? Like it's about even, which is, I guess, what you would expect. Let's see if Epic can keep up his upgrades. He does have the armory already going for him, so that's something.
Yeah.
A little bit of a squad here to hold this watchtower.
I'll see those few racks building back at home, so Epic going to show us a bit of 8 racks action, so he's going to get aggressive and really just stay aggressive in this game, right? This is one of these styles where once you start, you really do not stop, so that's our current plan, it seems, as a few Marines take the watchtower in the upper left-hand side. Marines are starting to press their way forward as well, going to try and put some creep down, but Epic will try and deny it, and again, anything you can do right now to just try and slow the Zerg down and to give your later army with the 8 racks a better attacking path, anything along those lines is only going to be beneficial for you. It's Namshar going up to that Spire now. 8 racks is typically good against Mutas because Mutas are not the best fighting units. You want to fight around the Terran. Obviously, the Terran is setting up to have that one big push that the Zerg is inevitably going to have to take head on.
Yes, indeed. Baneling speed about to kick in as well, so Epic is going to have to be a little bit careful. That could have been a very scary moment as Namshar was preparing a flank to trap the units in place as well. Luckily for Epic, he will manage to load them up and picks off a couple of Banelings on the retreat as well, while at the same time leading the army as far away as possible from the rest of the action. He's going to get a hatchery and potentially a lot of Overlord safety. He's paying attention. Will he be able to?
Yes, he will. Oh, that's massive as Namshar. Major supply block. That was, what was like 7 Overlords or something?
Yeah, that was a lot. Yeah. So he just killed 3 hatcheries, basically.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah. And now he's going to load into the main. And remember, he still has the other squad of army to work with on the other side. And this is the power of not losing your units.
Yep, unit retention is one of the things that makes Clem so scary in this matchup, personally. On my own opinion, as we do see these Marinesmen main just going to get going, and Namshar's supply, obviously, it's a combination of this pressure. He just was supply blocked for a long time, and he still is supply blocked again now over, you know, just it's tough. You know, it feels like Namshar, everything he's doing is just backfiring.
It really is. And now look at that army. Oh my god. That is a disgusting red blob cruising through the map. There's going to be Muta, but like you said, Wordy, they are not fighting units usually. So they do not want to be caught on their side of the map and trying to defend against an army that's primarily Marines. We expect to see a scan here to clear the creep from Epic before moving on further. There it is. And now with the tank setup, I mean, what do you do if you're Namshar? It's tough.
Yeah, you rewind the game, you don't lose those overlords, you trade a little bit better, and things look very different for you, I think, is what you do right here. It's tough, Caps. You're not really meant to win when you make that mistake. He's going to try the best he can, which is flanking in. It gives his Banelings a decent chance of connecting, and a lot of them do, but now there's no follow-up Banelings. All the Lings are in production, and these Marines are going to get on top of the base. They're going to kill units as they spawn. Nothing's ever going to get the chance to really group them together again. And there's obviously reinforcements en masse on the way across the map as well. So it's just going to continue on over.
Let's look at that battle report, Niall, can we? No, we cannot. We're denied. Namshar is going to kick us out. And Niall he'll post the battle report regardless. Love to see it.
8,000 mineral difference lost is obviously pretty crazy. It's just a summary of the mistakes Namshar made there. And this time Epic really can capitalize on the situation. Cats doesn't let it slip away from him. So very well handled. We're going to go to a break and decide who wins out this series. Namshar and Epic continues in just minutes. Welcome back to this epic versus Namshar series as we are getting ready for game number 3. Me and Kat's bringing you guys the games. Nathaniel's watching from afar, loving the TVZ action because it's going to game 3. Kat's, I mean, all of his talent have stuff on the line here. We all predicted Epic 2-1. I feel like I started us off on a trend and now I'm like, come on, Epic, I don't want to let the boys down.
Yeah, that would be terrible if you let us down like this, Wardy. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you here. And this map, however, pretty interesting. First, let's do intros, I guess, on the bottom right-hand side for Storm Gaming. It is Epic.
Taking on his teammate in the bottom left-hand side, it is going to be Namshar.
And this map is particularly interesting. In the GSL finals, we saw Rogue do a bunch of roach attacks onto Maru, and particularly on this map I felt like Maru was kind of hopeless because I felt like he had the perfect setup. Like he had like 4 tanks, he had a bunch of bio, and maybe his only mistake was taking the triangle third, which seems like the most natural expansion to take as your third for Terran. So with that said, I wonder if Namshar will revert back. We were talking about how maybe he could go roach on some map, and I feel like if he breaks the rocks on this map, it's kind of like the perfect roach map.
Find out what he wants to do. Yeah, I'd like to see him mix it up now for game number 3, especially because in a way I feel like he caught a bit of a lucky break a little bit maybe in game 1, you could say, right, where Epic was definitely in control. It would be nice to see Namshar take control early, because that's the one thing I don't think he's done in either game so far. And I feel like it's very important to do on Blackburn, because if a push of the Terran starts on this map, it will just not end. It will roll through the bottom side of the map again and again. Reinforcements will keep on arriving wave after wave, and the next thing you know, there's just Terran basically feels like they're reinforcing directly into your main base because they're just on top of you all the time. So I would like to see Namshar again, like I say, Roach is a great way to do it. Just take control early and just kind of stop Epic before he begins, because Epic looks terrifying once he gets the chance to, to launch those attacks.
Yeah, he really does. I think that his multi-prong is super strong. So whenever he gets that second set of medevacs out, because his army retention, like you were pointing out, is so important, is so good, he can become really, really dangerous. And Namshar wasn't able to keep up last game, so we'll see if that changes here. As Epic's Reaper finally arrives on Namshar's side of the map, he's going to look for a link kill. Namshar shuffling the links around to try and avoid any deaths, and will do so successfully for now.
Yeah, nicely done to start off with there. Is going to be seen our Reaper is going to have the Queen to contend with now, so just going to have to back it up from that. And that will calm us down for the moment, Cats. Nothing is saying as 3CC comes in, so we're going to go back to a bit more of an eco focus from Epic initially. Typically to me there's just, is the sort of idea of build up my 3 bases, get my economy, and then, hey, I'm on a good map for pushing. Let's just start doing very simple standard pushes and to try and take the advantage from there. No need to do anything too fancy too early on.
Yeah, and this is a very strong defensive map early on as well, with that natural leading or with that ramp leading into the natural, and the natural being naturally tucked in a little bit more than on most maps. So I like the 3CC opening. I like also the fact that the CC is kind of hiding inside rather than being ready to fly as fast as possible to the triangle. He's going to lose a little bit of mining time in favor of not getting it scouted, which could proc Namshar to go for an all-in to punish.
Yeah, that's a cool little thing you picked up on there. I like it. It's very smart, as we do see the Viking coming through. I mean, Epic kind of wants to just deny Namshar's vision as well at this point, it seems like.
And you love to see it. I mean, this is a very strong air map. We've mentioned it throughout the day. It is a very short distance by air, and so overlords are often going to be positioned there to try and scout later on. And just clearing that path, right? It makes it difficult for the Circ player to account for drops from the Terran side themselves. So I like the Viking very much. And we'll see where it leads. It's a Liberator.
Viking Lib Stim, it's a very standard way of kind of getting this set up, right? Nothing really too wild there. Only 4 Hellions, you could maybe mention as being something that's a little bit kind of, I don't want to say it's crazy, right? But it is a little greedy almost to kind of skip out on extra Hellions. It's a little bit more dangerous to do that. And then you're moving into instead this setup of, well, basically relying on, the Marine production to kind of set up in the game. So it just gives Namshar a bit more kind of freedom himself. So yeah, that comes at a cost. But yeah, otherwise, pretty standard stuff. Let's see what the Lib can do as it's going to come into the game and try and find a position or so to siege on up in.
Yes, indeed. And I mean, it is less Hellions than normal, but at the same time, in the previous 2 games, especially in the first game, Epic was kind of hiding Hellions for a while and then moved out with all 8 at once. So Namshar can't really say, okay, you're being too greedy, only making 4 Hellions, because there could be more behind it. And Epic has shown that he is likely to do that. As the Liberator will finally arrive onto the main base, is there anything in position to deny it? Just 1 queen.
Yeah, Spore Crawler, which isn't quite in position. Lip gets a good position as well, and Epic is going to start off with a couple kills. 3 workers, takes no damage, and that's the main thing, because now it unsieges, it will relocate, full of HP, and it can do this for a little while. Sieges up again, the queen has to be careful. Should just unsiege here and again, continue that dance and just go back and forth, back and forth. That's just kind of repetition, and it just keeps Namshar having to pay attention over there. You have to as well, but also Namshar is the one with more to lose, and it's also continuing to deny that mining.
Very well done, and he will find space to go south there, as Namshar was trying to trap the Liberator between 2 spores. Will not be able to. And Epic continuing to leverage his attention and his multitasking here against Namshar.
Yep, absolutely. As you see the Lib coming through, going to siege up again, couple drones. And they get zapped and blasted by the Lib. Queen going to go for the kill. Don't think it gets it. Yeah, okay. It gets it, but it goes down at the same time. So one final hurrah for the Liberator.
Yes, indeed. And behind this, Epic has been as greedy as he can be. His 1-1 is almost finished. That third CC was incredibly fast. And he manages to find damage with just 4 Hellions for all the presence that he had on the map. And then just an investment of a Liberator after the Vikings. So things are looking very good for Epic, who's getting away with murder.
Yeah, no, I love it. And again, obviously, he's had that great economy. So, yeah, away we go. 8 racks and ready to push in the very near future here, Epic. And just basically a repeat of the last game. Try and have a good opening. Try and just macro up well at home and then just start pushing. And I just feel like Namshar's going into the same setup where mutas just are not really the best against this kind of an attack. And losing queens like this definitely ain't good either. But massive run by, not just into the natural, but into the main. Epic responded way too late to this. And what a way for Namshar to maybe get some momentum back on his side.
Yeah, that is super important. Also a little bit of a blunder with the steam on the other side of the map from Epic, as he stemmed to clear creep and then realized that he didn't have any scans available. So now his army here is a little bit more bruised than it needs to be. And I mean, Namshar, that run by looked amazing, but then it didn't do that much.
Yeah, it's always the dark side of the run bys, right? Where it's like, oh god, I got in, yes, let's go. And then it's like, oh, I just lost 20 lings for like 4 SCVs, but he did get a tank and a few Marines as well, right? So there is that little bonus to it. So didn't do too much, wasn't like super amazing, but wasn't the worst thing either.
Completely agreed, as Epic is gonna keep up with those upgrades to continue his lead, but Namshar actually catching up and getting ahead as he starts both of his upgrades, whereas Epic only started the attack. A Mutalisk will suicide onto this army of Marines and Hellbats. And here's where Epic might benefit from adding some extra Widow Mines or something to deal with those Muta. At the same time, he has done a good job again with army retention on this top side. And as the links show up here without Banelings, he's going to be happy to take that fight and continue his push through the middle of the map.
Yeah, Namshar's just trailing a lot of supply. This reminds me a lot of game number 1, and Namshar had a good moment or two where he was able to just clean it up and push this back. But right now, I'm just not sure if he's going to be able to find that. Epic's almost everywhere. He's going to be shutting down lings that stream out of the natural expansion. Namshar just has to be so on top of, watching everywhere. He's about to lose the Baneling nest, by the way, as well. So suddenly no more Banelings. +2 will go down as well. So that's just going to put Epic into an upgrade lead eventually. And I think this one is falling out of control for Namshar. Even if you clean this up at this point, Epic is doing things that's going to give you a huge advantage moving on from this point and leading forward. As you can see, those Banes going to try and roll for the tank. Those are pretty much the last Banelings in the game, Cats. Without those, you have no splash damage. It's Ling Muta versus Marines. You don't have to be a Grandmaster to figure that one out.
Yes, indeed. By the way, I noticed a little bit of a bug. The medevac was not actually showing in the minimap when it was in the very